All right, we learned the Orthocenter. This is the last one we're going to learn. This was supposed to be the third one we've learned, but I went out of order. You're okay with that, aren't you? So what we're going to do is now, let's look at this triangle. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the midpoints of all three sides. All right, I've already found the midpoint right there. See that little line is, that little dot right there? That's the halfway point, so I put a dot right there. All right, let's click on it again, and this will kind of help us find about right there. That's about the midpoint, right? If I go straight across there. So I'll put a dot here. Let's click on it again. If I can find it. There it is. There. Where is it? There it is. Okay, watch this. If I take this and I go straight across there, that should be about the midpoint, shouldn't it? Yeah, that's probably it. About right there. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect. This time I'm not doing perpendicular bisector this time. I'm actually starting at a vertex, but I'm not going perpendicular like I did with the Orthocenter. I'm taking it from the vertex and I'm connecting it to where? What is that point? The midpoint, right. I connect it to the midpoint. Everybody see that? So that means that this little segment and this little segment are equal to each other. Why? Because that's the midpoint. Make sense? I'm going to do it 2 more times. I'm going to start from this vertex and I'm going to connect it to this midpoint right here. Now if I did this right, hopefully I did, we'll see. And if I connect to this midpoint over there, guess what? It should, pretty close. Okay, it should go right through here. Does that make sense? Let's make that midpoint a little bit bigger so it looks like it hits it. Okay, had to fudge a little bit, but that's okay. Alright, so what have I just done? I've drawn the midpoint, right? I've drawn from a vertex to a midpoint. We have a special name for that, and we call that a median. So those 3 things that I just drew are called medians. What's a median? It goes from a vertex, and where does it go to the other side? It hits how? At the midpoint, right. It hits at the midpoint of the opposite side. Everybody see that? So that means these 2 segments are equal, these 2 are equal to each other, and these 2 right here are equal to each other. Make sense? Because it's the midpoint. Now, they all hit at a point, right in there somewhere. Is that the circumcenter? No, because we find the circumcenter by doing the perpendicular bisector. Is it the incenter? No, because we do what? We do the angle bisector to find the incenter. Is it the orthocenter? No, we do the orthocenter because we do an altitude. This is a this thing is called a median. Do you remember back in the day you learned Algebra 1, maybe when you were a kid, you learned mean, median, mode? Do you remember that stuff? What was the median? The median was that number that was where? In the middle, that's right. You drive down the road, especially down a highway. In the middle of the 2 lanes is like a piece of grass, you know, big patch of grass. What do they call that big patch of grass? They call it the median, all right? I had a guy I knew, he was actually, hope he doesn't listen to this, he was actually my youth pastor years ago. I remember one time we were playing in this field and the ball went out and it went into the median, right? He says, oh, the ball went out into the medial strip. Medial, M-E-D-I-A-L, I guess. The medial strip. And I'm like, you know how you hear words but you don't hear it right and you say it wrong? I think that's his whole life. I guess in his head he was hearing medial. It's not a medial. What is it? Median. It's a median. Okay, it's a median. All right, so it's the median strip. Sometimes they call it that patch of grass, or it could be cement or something like that, right? We call that the median. Everybody with me on that? So that means in the middle. Starts at the vertex and it hits in the middle of the other side. Can you remember that? Starts here and it hits the middle of the opposite side. That's a median. Now, guess what what the name of this is right here? I messed up. Remember I wrote it down for the other one and I said, right, now this one is the centroid. Sorry about that. This one is the centroid. Sorry. It's not an android, it's a centroid. All right, so how do we find the centroid? We draw the median, right? So I'll tell you what, let's just put this out in front like that. All right, in order to find the centroid, we find the median of all 3 sides. We go from the vertex to the midpoint, vertex to midpoint, vertex to midpoint. Now, on the orthocenter, there was nothing special about that point. But there is something special about this point. Let me show you. I'll show you by numbers. If I said that this right here, from the midpoint, I'll tell you, let's put some letters in here. We'll use the same letters as we did before. and we'll call this point in the middle. Call it P for point, okay? Watch this. DP is 5. What does it look like PC might be? Looks like it's bigger. It's definitely bigger than 5, isn't it? Okay. And what did you say, Connor?
10.
You said 10. You're exactly right. Okay, this side right here, PC, is exactly twice as big as this shorter side. So this side right there is 10. Everybody see that? So PC is 10. What if I said this? What if I said this was 12? BP was 12. Could you tell me what PE would be?
6.
It would be 6 because look, from the vertex to the centroid, I hope you're listening to this. From the vertex to the centroid is twice as big. Brett, you getting all this? Why don't you sit up or you're going to be sitting in the desks. Okay, sit up straight, please. Or you're going to... Sit up straight. Put your feet on the floor. Thank you. All right. That's less comfortable, right? Say yes. Okay. Because I want it less comfortable because I want you paying attention. Look, BP is 12. What do you think PE is? It's going to be half of this. Look, the longer one. Which one is the longer? How do you know which one the longer one is? Now, I gave a test in my honors class, and it wasn't exactly drawn to scale. It wasn't perfect, and it almost looked like this segment and this segment were equal to each other. And so kids would come up to me and they would say, Mr. Hamrick, which one's the longer one? It doesn't look like one's longer than the other. But you have to know which one the longer one is. Just because it doesn't look like it, doesn't mean it is. So watch. If I go from here, from the vertex to the centroid, everybody listening?
Yes.
From the vertex to the centroid, that's the longer side. From the centroid to the midpoint, right? This is the midpoint of that side, right? From the centroid to the midpoint, that's the shorter side. So this right here is the longer side, and this right here is the what? Is the short side. How do you know which one the long one is? It's from where? The vertex to the centroid. What about AF? Which one is the longer one? Not just because it looks like it. AP is the longer one because it goes from where? From the vertex to the centroid. You see that? So if you go from the angle to that point, that's the longer one. Which is the longer one here on DC? Okay, CP. Because it goes from the vertex to the centroid. Make sense? Okay. What if I gave you this? What if I said that AF was 18? What do you think? If AF is 18, what do you think the two lengths are? AP and PF. AP would be 12? How do you know that? Because you know it? That's a good reason. What do you think? Let's look at the other numbers, okay? Let's look at this. Look at the 10 and 5, all right? The whole thing is 15, right? Look at the shorter part. So if the whole thing is 15, the shorter part is 5. What do we do to 15 to get that 5? How about divided? We divided because we got to do the same thing over here, right? So watch. What's 15 divided by 3?
5.
It's 5. That gives you the shorter side. What about this? What's the length of this? Oh, you know what? Why did I put 18? Because we already got an 18 down here, don't we? Let's try another number. Let's try 27. And that might be why you knew the whole thing, this was 12. Is that right? Because that whole thing's 18, so you figure the longer one's 12 if that one's 12. Okay, watch this. Everybody paying attention? Jamie, up here. Come on. Pay attention. Focus. Come on. Take a little, anyway. If I take the whole side, it's 15. How do I find the short side? Just divide it by 3. Look at this thing. What's that whole side right there? BE. What's BE? It's 18. How do you find the short side if the whole thing is 18? Divided by 3, and that's 6, okay? What about this? This whole thing, AF, is 27. How do I find the short side? Divided by 3. What's 27 divided by 3? It's 9, so that's 9. Now, what did we say about the long side? How much bigger is it than the short side? It's twice as big. So if this is 9, what's this? That's 18. You follow me? So AP is 18. PF is 9. You see it? Let's try another one just for fun. Now these numbers might not match up. It might not be to scale or anything, but I don't care. Let's say I told you that BE was 30. And I asked you to find BP. And I asked you to find EP. So watch. The whole thing is 30, right? What's the easiest one to find? The short one. How do you find the short one if you know the whole thing? Divided by 3. So what's 30 divided by 3? It's 10. So which one's 10? Which one of these? Which one of these? EP. Right, that's 10. Now the longer one is how much bigger than the shorter one? It's twice as big. So what would this be? It'd be 20. Do they add up to be 30? Absolutely. It's pretty easy, isn't it? Now if you look in the book, what they say is this. They say that the whole entire length right here, okay, so I'll just say the length. The length of the median is 2/3 of the longer segment. We'll just say it like that. They say it a little differently in the book, but as far as we're concerned, it's 2/3. This whole thing is 2/3. Well, if the long side is 2/3 of the whole thing, what's the shorter side? Watch. If this is 2/3 of the whole entire thing, what's the shorter side? Right, it's 1/3, right? 2/3 and 1/3 is the whole thing. Would you agree? Yeah. That's why we take this and divide it by 3. Take the whole length, divide it by 3, and I've got the short side. That's all you got to be able to do. It's pretty simple. Watch, it's really easy if I tell you either the short or the long side. For instance, if I said, I don't know, let's say that length is 2. What is it from C to P? 4, and what's the whole entire length? It's 6. It's easy. Would you agree? So if you know the short one or the long one, it's easy to get the whole thing. And it's easy to get the other one. The hardest part is if they tell you the whole thing. But that's really not even that hard, is it? If they tell you the whole thing is 15, what do? Divide it by 3 to get the short one, and then do what to that? Yep, double it to get the long one. That's all you got to do. It's pretty easy, isn't it? You okay with that? All right. And I believe that might be it. Let me just... Okay. There's one more thing I want to show you. I'm not going to record it, but I would want to show you this. All right, that's it for that.